Hi Pisces. All right, welcome to the space. If you're new here, this space is called Opal Oracle, and my name is Raaji. And if you're returning, thank you so very much. Welcome back. All right, Pisces. The first thing I saw was Aries actually has a message for you. And if you know, there's something about Mars in your chart, okay? Let me see if there's any other extra messages before we jump into your cards. I guess if you live with other people or anyone that you're close with emotionally, there could be a bit of difficulty in expressing. There could be a difficulty in a proper expression of emotion, so just be aware of that. This also reminds me of the father reading. The word is father. And I guess if we're taking this as maybe men in general, like, are you mad at... Oh, I heard, are you mad at your dad? Are you... something like this. Or just maybe upset. If you're upset by something, well, remember, you rule compassion. They say you're supposed to, this is the essence of Pisces maturing, right? Compassion, empathy, sympathy, forgiveness. So be that as much as you can. Towards yourself, and then, of course, towards other people. All right, let's open up your cards, Pisces. Ooh, interesting. Just a second. Give me a second to tune in. So this time frame is probably more emotional than anything, but it's almost it's almost like a processing of emotion in relation to a previous relationship. I have to fix this crookedness. Just a second. Too far. A little bit better. When something is even just a little bit off, it will throw off everything. Remember that. It has, I heard, the propensity to do that. Now, you and Libra. So give me a second. Sometimes your energy is hard to tap into, Pisces. You have more walls than you think that you do, or that you show that you do. Although your body language says a lot about how... Like I heard your body language when no one's paying attention is actually says a lot about how you really feel. And then I saw someone walking down the street and past like a store that had like a big plain glass window, and you turn and you like saw yourself. It reminds me of a Twilight Zone, where the woman is actually like looking at herself in the glass, but there's a man inside of that establishment that thinks that she's looking at him. And it causes confusion, you know. You need extra cards. Just a second. It won't let me dive in here. Sorry for the slow. Okay, so there's something that's on... just a minute. Before I say anything, I'd like to... Okay. There's something with Aquarius that's like coiled up. Oh, sorry, Zoomy. Hold on, baby. What do you got here for? So Libra is asking... she wants to know, or actually, Libra's technically a he, right? But what's the question of the day? What are the questions that you have right now about whatever you're working through? Also feel a little nature church would be really good for you. Well, you have a last bloom with the Six of Cups. So let's just go one by one here, because it's I know we're almost 7 minutes in, but what this is expressing is that there is something that you've been working through, I guess, in ways of an old feeling, maybe some reminiscing into an older space. For some of you, it very much has to do with a previous relationship, someone that you were really tight with, one-on-one, emotionally connected to, for a lot of you, romantically. But because this last bloom is here, there's something where well, I guess you want to appreciate, because if something blooms, usually there's a scent, right? Well, okay, so we talked about this, I don't know how long ago, where whenever there's an ending to anything, the last bloom, right, of the season, the whatever, even when there is a great acceptance to whatever the reality is, there's always going to be something that's a little bit sad about it. And so please do not pretend like you're so detached and it doesn't matter and you don't care kind of attitude. Because if you pull that, maybe this is where Aries comes in. If you try to pull that, I just saw someone putting their hand in a basket, but what was in that basket was a cobra, okay? And the snake charmer is all about not emotionally reacting. Now, I'm not talking about reacting to the situation dramatically or with anger or wrath or immaturity. It's just kind of like the snake charmer doesn't pull the snake out of the basket. The snake charmer eases it out with a certain vibration, right? And then from there, they can connect. This is also a Scorpio animal, but it has more to do with Aquarius for you, and how you find your answer is through Libra. I see this scent, excuse me, it's okay, Zumi. I see this scent again. Pisces, maybe there's something where like, and actually I feel like Aries talked about this, but scent has a lot to do with memory, right? And maybe this could be a little bit of like flower essence could be good for you, or just maybe something smells different, like the memory of it is, I heard, being refracted. And this is part of the thing, is I feel like there is a great a capacity for you to see the positivity of the past. But there's also this sort of detachment, but it's not a healthy one, Pisces. Like the kind of detachment where, again, you're like, it doesn't matter, I don't care. Oh, that person that you had a fight with, your family member, your ex-lover, your sister, anybody you've ever lived with. Maybe you want to think about that as whoever you've had a fight with, that you live with, you still hold resentment about that. Okay? Somehow, some way, there's some kind of, why is this crooked? Hold on, it's crooked again. How do we do it? This way, maybe? No, cucks. A little bit better. So, little adjustments. Okay. Every time I go over there too, and it's not fiddling, I say I was saying COCK, sucker. So, this is about, well, I don't want to get into this too much without being crass. I don't know where this is going. Maybe that's a question with you in relation to some of your connections with other people or certain situations. It's like, I don't know where this is going. And I feel like if you take some time to be quiet with yourself, there's definitely a means of you finding the answer better. Whether this is you crying about it or you just admitting like, this doesn't taste good anymore, or like, this doesn't smell good anymore, or yes, I'm still mad at that, or I heard I was being fake, or this was not real, right? It's like a reality check of what's illusionary or not, because you also rule this to a certain extent, so you have to be very in control, like very aware of whether you're playing games with yourself or not. Do you know what I mean? And actually, Virgo, although I don't always see the High Priestess as you, but I see this as Pisces right now. Like, Virgo's like, come on, Pisces, like, have a conversation. Like, don't be silent. Don't hold secrets. Don't hold, I heard, resentment for things. Okay? And if you don't know if you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, Raaji, like, I don't feel like that. Like, if you sit quietly enough, and I heard you take away the thing that is always distracting you, you will find it very easily. And it will be found via a feeling. And I feel like there's a great reflection of this through your one-on-one partnerships and the way that you respond to love. Some of you, this could be some root chakra stuff. Like maybe this is a previous, sexual partner. I don't know. And maybe there's something that's bound up there that needs to be opened up, but not in a way to just be loose about it, but to be aware of the fact that there are places that you are, I heard, very deeply invested. But there are also places that you are detached in a kind of negative way, or that you need to detach because the investment is not healthy. Does this make sense? Right, because you can't put... I've said it before, but like you can't put glitter on, you can put glitter on a shit cake, but it's still gonna smell like a shit cake. Do you know what I mean? How often are you really still and silent? This may be a part of the question of the day. If you also know, because Libra is at the heart of the reading, and this is an inconjunct to you, which in short means that from Pisces, whatever house your sun, wherever Pisces sits for you and wherever Libra sits for you, it's like two fists. It's like fisticuff. And you got to kind of duke it out there. You got to, I don't know, like there's a bunch of rounds that you got to go through to try to figure out how these two things work together. And if you know these houses, this will help you a lot. Like, is it you? Is it other people? Is it your work? Is it your home? Like, where are these two things, and how do they go together? Because Pisces are two fish going in two different directions that are always interwoven and attached, right? Attached, detached. But it's one is not aware of the other one, and Libra as an animal is a question mark. Do you know what I mean? It could be a wolf, I guess. Or it could also be a snake charmer. That's interesting. That's another story. Point is that there's a question to wherever, there's a question of your relationships. There's a question, Libra's asking you, what is fair? What is right? Is this fair? Does this, are you compromising? Are you sacrificing? Are you being fake? Like, are you being real? Do you put yourself in difficult situations because you don't want to feel the thing that doesn't feel good? Do you not end the thing that you know is on its last bloom because you don't want to change because you're stubborn? See, this is kind of how Libra talks, and I know you don't like it, right? It's upsetting to you to have something so straight. But the thing is Libra's sword is the one that cuts the... Libra is Mary Magdalene that helps Jesus get off the cross. You know what I'm saying? Like, that believes in the process. And it's a conversation that's different, not having to have like war with these two energies, right? And the sword is what helps cut the hanged man down. You need that sword, but you can only have it through being really honest and not pretending like everything is fine when it's not. This could be as simple as whether this is your partner, your family, your friendship, your coworker, like anybody being like, hey, you don't have to spill your guts about every single spiritual, emotional, intellectual thing you're going through, but not, right, like, please don't put a false spin on a reality because you're too afraid to tap into some emotional space that you know you need to go into so that you can emotionally gain more faith in yourself. And this goes back into the father or men in your life. And if you are a man, this is your own confidence in yourself regardless. But, and I see in the... Because I heard, even when you're happy, you're not, there's something about you that's not happy, right? But do you express that when, this is part of the lesson, I guess, and I know we've been kind of talking about this for a while, so please excuse the redundancy. It takes a long time to change. It takes initiative. It takes an idea. You have to actually start practicing to do the thing that you're not very good at. And most importantly, you have to admit that you have a problem and that you don't know and you aren't very good at something and you want to become better at something. And instead of being like, ooh, I'm going to do this month, or I'm changing today, like now it's different. It's like, no, maybe it's almost like, and Aries so has a message for you. I can't express it enough. where this is kind of like, all right, from now until next year, I'm going to work on this. I want to work on this. I want to mature out of this, because I heard you're not a child, and if you want to have the relationships that are justice-like, fair for you, where the karma between you and other people isn't yucky, and even if it isn't necessarily yucky now, it's like what it used to be and what the perception of that really is. Because you know what, sometimes it takes 10 years to 20 years to even figure out that is the thing that stops you from doing something else. It generally has nothing to do with, what do they say? It's never about the dishes. Do you know what I mean? The surface thing. And so I see, please, in this time, please practice. Continue to practice. Your yeses and your nos, your honesty. You want to feel different? Well, you have the capacity to do that. I would actually say that there are two relationships here that I see that you need to be aware of. Now, of course, this is you and God. You to yourself, you and God. But I also see this as you, like a romantic partnership of deep in the past, and then one that's a little bit more, slightly more present, right? Not as far back. And what are those two? It could be the most recent and again, something in the past, but there's something here that needs to be, that you're working through, that I need you to believe that you can. And one of your biggest lessons, Pisces, right now, again, I see, is honesty. Not being afraid to speak, right? It was just 22. It's like not being afraid to say when something is in the very moment, you feel that in your belly, you feel that whatever that is, whether this is just you thinking about the past and not like ignoring it and distracting yourself again with something else, turning on your cell phone, whatever the thing is, putting food in your mouth, having a beer, whatever, having sex. It's like whatever the thing is that distracts you, like, please don't do that. Give it a couple moments if it's just you to yourself. And if this has to do with you interacting with other people, is it just being like, hey, that really, like someone says something to you and you're like, instead of getting mad, I heard just expressing like, well, why do you feel that way? And again, trying to practice compassion. And also sometimes, because I feel like you're a very poetic, elusive, again, kind of sign, you never really say anything straight. You know what I mean? Sagittarius, the other Jupiter, is such a straight shooter. It's going to tell you blatantly, exactly, like, hey, you got some shit on your face right here. You got food in your teeth. You know what I mean? Be like, your ass doesn't look good in those pants. Like, really basic, but you don't. As a foundational tendency that is not, it doesn't seem poetic enough to do that. But you know what? Some of the most realness is to be honest, like blatantly honest. To be blatantly honest. That's realness. Now, it's not to say, but with you have the capacity to actually fold in. And I just saw someone making like a beautiful chocolate cake and like was folding in all the layers. But it's like saying the thing that's so clear, but with love in it, with forgiveness. Again, like if someone does ever say, oh, I guess we just want to talk about it, although just a minute. The moon in Taurus, too. This is too sentimental. It also is, to me, is, again, an emphasis of practicing. Like, it's almost like you saying to yourself, like, I have emotional maturity. And how you can take what it is about that, like if you say to yourself, well, I'm emotionally mature, I don't need to practice it, whatever this is, if you feel like you're emotionally mature, then the proof is in the pudding. Like the proof is expressing yourself when you feel what you feel. I mean, there's a time and a place for everything, but it's really about, like, you know, approaching something. If it's not in that very moment when something happens, it's about approaching it in the very near future. But for you, I feel like the importance is to say it when it happens. When something bothers you emotionally, having a conscious awareness of it, because if you don't, what happens, because it's Pisces, it like floats into this world and it's hard for you to catch it again. Do you know what I mean? It's hard for you. And then it's almost like, you know, when your grandmother calls you, or like an elder calls you, because we all move away too far away from our families, but like a family member calls you and you don't answer the phone. And then you keep doing your life and you get distracted. Your kids, your job, whatever, your life stuff gets in the way. And then all of a sudden you start to feel guilty, right, that you didn't do it. So because of that guilt, or because of that remorse in some kind of way, or what it feels like to be like, oh, I have to have integrity to admit, like, hey, sorry, I haven't called, or like, sorry, I haven't done this, and actually mean it, because you feel sore in yourself that this could actually affect another person. Now, of course, this could be somebody to you, but this is your reading. The point is that once you finally do it and you pick up the phone and you're like, hey, Grammy, like all that weight just goes away when we communicate. And it's a good choice to do that. You know, that waiting game is something that you're learning about. And maybe it's about not putting things aside again. Like, especially if any of you have Mars and Pisces, please be careful, because anger can go, we've talked about this before, but it's like dynamite in the ocean. Do you know what I mean? And it's not healthy for your body. It's not healthy for your relationships with other people, for your psyche, for your soul. It's not. Like, and I know sometimes that's going to hurt the ego. Do you know what I mean? You're going to have to, the ego will have to be set aside to admit the fact that, well, Zumi. Well, only you can break the cycle, I guess, is the point, Pisces. Now, I know I feel like the words were a little bit sharper here. It's because the only sword on the board is this Knight of Swords. And so I guess this could also mean that there's something where you're like, the thing that you say to yourself again, where you're like, I don't care. I don't care about that person. I don't, like someone's like, anywhere that you're pretending that it doesn't matter when you know that it does. Well, I see, please stop being so detached. Why are you so... Detachment only comes out of fear anyway. That's why Aquarius does it. Because they're ruled by Saturn and they're afraid to express... Yep. They're afraid to express their weakness. And you being the extension of, well, actually, in the ways of heaven, you're the baby of Jupiter. But that's another story. Now, remember, to close this out, we've been talking about you and Scorpio together, right? Now, Jupiter is going through your sign, so they say, which makes a trine to Scorpio. So Scorpio is actually in charge, is pulling the energy of, say this is Pisces, here's Jupiter, this beautiful, expansive, whatever energy. But the thing is that's in charge of that is Scorpio in your chart. Okay? And if you're dealing with any Scorpio people, it's also opening up. It's going to open. Scorpio always opens a wound, right? But the reason why is because it's festering or it is unhealthy. It needs to be, that pressure needs to be released. And there's definitely something here with that to teach you more of your own independence. And also facing your own weakness. Do you know what I mean? And also learning integrity and not being afraid of well, I guess it's detaching in a healthy way, right? Not detaching out of fear, but loving without attachment. Do you know what I mean? And again, I see Aries has a message for you. A big one. It's really big. And if for some reason, I just want to say this, if your ego was triggered and you're like, Raaji, or you already clicked off, well, I guess if you already clicked off, you wouldn't be here. Listen to this. But I need you to know that I guess we just had to do a little dusting there, right? What is Leo? Hold on. What is Leo to Pisces? Oh, that's also you're in conjunct also. Right. So this is a good talk. And do you have faith in your father? Do you have faith in men? If you're a man, I mean, this also is faith in yourself, but specifically if you're a man, it's like, do you trust yourself I guess overall, do you trust yourself as a person? And I guess if people don't trust you for some reason, they don't feel like you're mature or you don't feel like you could do something, well, if you can address this question of the day, these questions of the day, this conversation, well, then I see your relationships are end up pretty awesome. Some of you could even, like, are you married? Do you want to be married? You could be married if you feel like it. But I guess there's something of the past that still needs to be addressed and something learned about that is a very slow, hard lesson. So just be okay with it, because good things come in time. Okay. You know, do you believe you're a good partner? If you do, why so? If you don't, why so? Do you believe in love? Have you forgiven your enemies? I love you, Pisces. Thank you for that was a good conversation, especially for everybody. We could take this as collective too, like we want to take this with Jupiter and Pisces right now. This is a great conversation, right? Everybody judges everybody so hardcore in this day and age too, about so many things. If you're not in this group, if you're not in that, although that's a little bit more Aquarius, but the point is I guess why we're doing this is so that we don't care, like hate isn't carried in the heart. You know what I mean? Forgiveness and love is, and faith. So we can be, more like appreciate the inclusiveness, versus like appreciating the sameness versus the differences. And even still appreciating the differences. That's okay too. That's great. That's one of the probably the major lessons of life, right? Is like being cool with what's around you, even if it's different than you, and not being mad about it or judging it. You know what I mean? Take care of yourself, Pisces. I'll talk to you next time. Peace.